Sabrina the Teenage Meeple, and this is Room 51, where we talk all things board gaming. And today I'm here with a new segment called My Game Classroom, where I teach you guys how to bring games into the classroom. And for my first game today, I'm actually picking the game that kind of inspired this series, which is the game Planet. So I'm going to go over how I kind of incorporated the components of this game into hypothetical lesson plans because I do not have a classroom yet, and how I would use them for different types of lessons. And for this game in particular, I have a math lesson, some science lessons, and a writing lesson. So I think we're going to start with the science lessons today because I have two of different ones that I want to go over. And I'm going to be showing you all the components and what I would use them for. So really quick, this game has a bunch of cards from different landscapes and different animals on them. So they have the water, the Sahara, the forests, and the Arctic, and these mountains. I don't know why the mountains are brown, but they are. But my first science lesson, and I was gearing these lessons towards first and second graders. So if you have like older kids or older students, there's definitely ways to scale this up. You would just make like harder questions for them, and I'll probably include some at the end if you need them. So my first activity was if we were talking about our planet Earth, right? And on our Earth, how we have different landscapes and bodies of land, right? So we have like the water, the ocean lands, and we have like forest lands, and all these different types of lands that typically have different temperatures, have different animals, they're different ecosystems. So one thing that I thought of from Planet, which inspired all of this, was how each card is a unique animal. They really could have easily just used the same animal or same background, but they decided to use different animals for each scoring card, and I thought that was really like a lot of effort. And you could give each table or each group of students, however you want to split them up, a different ecosystem, and they would be able to have these animals and that they could do either research on with books, or they create a project where they show that ecosystem. So I was thinking something hands-on with art, because that's usually what the younger grades will remember and be more excited to do, and I think that's really important, is to create engagement and excitement in the students. So they would be able to create this whole ecosystem with the animal cards that I gave them, and they would have to include their animals and maybe like some background on like what they eat or where they live, or just little facts about the area. So if they had this one, maybe they would have to talk about the forest or jungles and the tigers and the fox and bears that live there, right? But a different table that would have the Arctic would probably have to explain and show in their beautiful art that it's a cold area, it's got lots of snow, it's very white, and therefore many of the animals are white so that they can camouflage and hide from predators, things like that for each of the groups. And then they would be able to share with their peers, right? So they would be able to, the whole class would be able to learn about each landscape. Now my second science lesson would more likely include this beautiful polyhedral magnetic portion and its tiles. Each group would be able to get this. So the box comes with 4, so you'd have to have 4 groups if that's manageable in a classroom. And the tiles that they would get, and they would have to create a planet that they think would be livable and which animals would live on which areas, and talking about the temperatures and the different regions. And I kind of just thought about this because whenever we finish a game of Planet, we finish with our own fully formed planet. And it's not very story driven or anything, this game, but at the end I'm like, wow, look, I have my forest, which is next to a little bit of sand, I have a little beach there, right? So they'd be able to create their own planet and talk about, well, this planet has a lot of forest, so there's a lot of like forest animals that live there and things like that. It's also a great talking point about how our Earth changes over time, right? We started out, what scientists believe, with one major continent, right? And then it split up and things are moving. and the water levels change and rise, and there was the ice age, right? So it's a good talking point to be able to engage students in a lesson on how our planet evolved over time. The second subject I'll cover is math. And with math, typically students just check out, right? They feel like they don't understand numbers, they don't understand anything that's happening, and they're just sitting through it. But with these, I thought it was a great way to talk about 3D objects and 2D objects, because each face, it's the face of the tile, which is flat, but then when it's 3D, it's this big ball. So you kind of can physically bring it into a classroom. And I know teachers do that with they'll just print out a circle and then have a ball to reflect that. But it's also important to show different shapes, and also how the pentagons are made up of 5 triangles. It has 5 sides, and there's 5 equal triangles in this pentagon. So those are a few things to mention in your math lessons. And then literacy, which I hated as a child, but I think has grown into some of my favorite topics as a student teacher. So they would be able to create their planet, right? And you could even do this after you do the science lesson of them creating their planet, and then they would be able to write a whole reflection on what their imaginary planet would have, right? And they would be able to be creating their own planet, and that would really engage their imagination, because that is quite important, especially in the young ages, and their writing skills, right? Because if they're writing about something they enjoy or they're interested in, and if it's their planet, something they created, it'll be much more impactful, and they're more likely to write about things that they really care about, and probably write better quality. So those are my thoughts on planet. And if you ever wanted to scale any of these things up, it's totally doable. So I know I talked a lot about the 2nd graders, but if you had 5th or 6th graders and you wanted to use planet, you could definitely start going into geometry with 3D sides and how to create them. And definitely you could even read more nonfiction books in your classrooms or with your child at home that talk about the planet and these different animals, and they'll be able to be more interested in if they get to see these pictures, if they get to build their own planet. So let me know what you guys thought, what games you guys think you would use for children or classrooms in general. Don't forget to follow us at This Is Room 51 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Subscribe to YouTube, please, and then follow our Twitch channel if you guys want to watch us stream live games at Room 51 Live, and our Redbubble, because we are selling stuff if you guys would like to buy things. Thank you guys for watching or listening. This has been Room 51.